Welcome to the Legal Lounge here on CRN Digital Talk Radio, streaming live coast to coast and around the world on CRNTalk.com. Also available in stunning high-definition video on Facebook.com/CRN Talk, CRN's custom-built Roku channel, Tiki Live, and, of course, CRNTalk.com. I am joined, as always, by the one and the only inactive attorney, U.S. Army veteran, Juris Doctorate in Law, undergraduate degree in physics, and author of a book that has proven to be a guideline for the Supreme Court now and in the future. That book, America, An Illusion of Freedom, is available on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, and on iTunes. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Richard Nixon, and the show that gives you the news you get nowhere else. How are you, Richard?
I'm pretty good, and man, we have a lot of news here, don't we, between what former President Trump's being shot and Mr. current President Biden calling it quits. And a lot of people are saying, look, if you can't function well enough to run for office, you can't function well enough now to be president. I disagree with that. I take the old Johnson view, if you will, President Johnson, who had basically said in the past after his stint regarding Vietnam, he just wasn't going to accept anymore. He wasn't going to run for office, even though he wasn't yet nominated, though. That's the thing. He said, I'm sorry, I'm not going to run. I think he just got plain tuckered out. The Vietnam War just really killed him. And so he decided not to run again. And I think President Biden can exercise the same judgment. He can continue. He's got things he wants to do. But he's saying, but I'm not going to run a second time because my so-called allies don't want me to.
So let's recap, Richard, what has happened over this past month. So first, we have one of the most disastrous debate performances by a politician in world history.
Yeah.
Joe Biden completely flubbing the debates, and that was really started, the groundswell was there before, but really brought to the forefront questions about his mental acuity.
Right.
And then we had, all that, and then he did a rally a couple days later where he seemed energized in front of a crowd. Of course, he was on the teleprompter, and so that was swayed that a little bit. Then a disastrous interview with Lester Holt. Then another disastrous interview with George Stephanopoulos. And then we had the attempted assassination attempt on former President Trump.
Correct.
That you and I covered live. Wow.
We did. You did. You did an excellent job.
Well, thank you very much, Richard. And I told you right after that, when we saw that iconic photo of his fist up, curse on his lips, that he's unbeatable.
Absolutely.
And then a couple days later, we hear Joe Biden drops out of the race.
Yeah, but Kamala, she's coming back strong, according to some of the media reports. She is almost got Trump beat.
Which is crazy because for the first 2 years of the Joe Biden administration, both Democrats and Republicans were saying, what? She's not doing anything.
No, she don't have to do anything. There are certain people who don't care. They don't care about the Constitution. They don't care about anything. They just know that their position right now, as it is, from the Democratic Party, it's more profitable to vote Democrat than it is to do the right thing for the country and vote Republican.
I think that a lot of Democrats thought, based on Joe Biden's performance and also his standings in the poll, that he could not win. And I think even regardless of what Kamala has done as vice president or as a prosecutor or as an attorney general, they don't care about any of that. They just want to beat Donald Trump because of the Trump derangement syndrome. But we're going to talk more about Kamala right after the break. We're going to talk about maybe some eligibility issues that we've talked about before on the show.
Absolutely.
We're going to talk about also some of her policy positions, specifically when it comes to criminal justice. So stick around, you guys. We're here in the Legal Lounge, CRN Digital Talk Radio, CRNTalk.com. Stay with us.
Savor the past and savor the glory days of Las Vegas. Enjoy 70 years of true Las Vegas history as 4 generations of family wait to greet you at the legendary Bootlegger Italian Bistro. Wine, dine, and experience Mama Maria's award-winning original recipes while surrounded by original family photos and celebrity memorabilia. Enjoy piano artistry nightly with music from the Great American Songbook in our main formal dining room. The Bootlegger Italian Bistro, open 24/7, 7700 Las Vegas Boulevard South, in the entertainment capital of the world. The Bootlegger Italian Bistro, open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. 7700 Las Vegas Boulevard South, in the entertainment capital of the world. It's Vegas, baby.
back in the Legal Lounge. Once again, thank you so much for joining us here. You can check out all past and previous sessions of this broadcast available on Rumble, also on YouTube. Find Seer and Digital Talk on both those platforms. Also as a podcast, seerandtalk.com/podcaster. All right, Richard, we were talking about Kamala Harris.
Yes.
The now Democratic de facto nominee.
President Obama kind of likes her, though, I think.
He just did endorse, I believe, within the last couple hours. And we've seen every one of her potential Democratic challengers endorse Gavin Newsom, the haircut, Gretchen Whitmer out of Michigan, Josh Shapiro out of Pennsylvania, Mark Kelly out of Arizona, probably because they all want to be VP. But anyways, let's talk a little bit. I want to touch on this because this is something that we've talked about. And this was a theory first put up by John Eastman, friend of the show. And he actually talked about whether or not Kamala Harris is eligible to be president of the United States, or VP for that matter, because Article 2, the language is clear that you need to be a United States citizen, you need to be over the age of 30.
Article 2, Mike?
Yeah.
14th Amendment.
Well, 14th Amendment, too. The language of Article 2 is one, be a natural-born citizen, but also the 14th Amendment citizenship clause defines what a citizen is.
Yes, okay.
And that's a person must be, to the 14th Amendment, I believe it's Clause 1.
Absolutely.
That the person must be subject to the jurisdiction of the United States, and that means subject to complete jurisdiction, not merely a partial jurisdiction, such as which applies to anyone temporarily sojourning in the United States. Which, according to, for anybody that does not know, Kamala Harris, her father was Jamaican, which I believe at that time Jamaica was still a British protectorate. And her mother was Indian, and they met in the United States in the Bay Area of California as they were both grad students.
Yes.
So there's some questions on whether or not her parents
correct
were wind down this theory for me a little bit.
Okay, properly understood, and it's in chapter 7 of my book. It says that, as it says from the 14th Amendment, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. Now, the whole point of including that little phrase in there, and subject to the jurisdiction thereof, starting in the 60s, the people like Ted Kennedy of Chappaquiddick fame started ignoring that little phrase in there, and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. And for other reasons we'll get into later, you can't do that. You cannot interpret the Constitution such that a part of it becomes redundant. You must deal with why the words "and subject to the jurisdiction thereof" are there. They do not mean the same thing as a person was born here. Now, what that means is basically that the child can be born here, but its parents must owe allegiance to this country before that child's being born here is a citizen based upon their birth here. So if someone comes over here as an ambassador from France, for example, and the wife has a child here, that child is not intended to be, nor is it, a citizen of the United States.
And that point right there, Richard, sorry to interrupt, is supported by case law in the Wong Kim Ark case.
Absolutely. And so it's even more so, as lawyers would say, a fortiori, if you're here illegally and the wife or girlfriend, if you will, has a child here and the parents owe allegiance to another country, Mexico, El Salvador, et cetera, or even Canada. The point is this, very briefly. The reason we want people here that have parents that owe allegiance to this country is to make sure that we don't encourage people from other countries that will contradict our values in this country. So the two ways you can become a citizen is that you're born here and your parents owe allegiance to this country so that you will not be taught things counter to this country, or you're old enough to be naturalized, in which case you have accepted our values here. So to allow a person to come here from another country, parents I should say, and have their baby born here when they owe allegiance to some other country doesn't pass muster, and that is her case. And so if you push it properly, she is not a citizen and therefore should not have been qualified for a VP or president.
Yeah, and this is not some sort of fringe argument out there, because this the same argument has been made by not only Professor Eastman, but many others in the legal community as well. All right, Richard, let's talk about Kamala a little bit about, well, first of all, there's this theory out there.
Uh-oh.
And it involves the 25th Amendment.
Yes.
That we've talked about before. And there's a theory out there that leading Democrats and donors, the Nancy Pelosi's, the Chuck Schumer's, the Reed Hastings, the George Clooney's, the Democratic, ruling class, that they came to Joe Biden and says, look, Joe, you either don't run or we're going to give you the 25th Amendment. Your thoughts about that? Well,
okay, but that's a lot of braggadocio because, again, they can't do anything on their own. Mm-hmm. The easiest way for them to do it, or which would require less work on the part of President Biden, is if he simply signs a document. Section 3, the 25th Amendment, Section 3 talks about whenever the president transmits to the president pro tem and so on. In other words, when he submits a document to the president of the Senate and the president, Speaker of the House, that he is not capable of fulfilling his duties and powers, and that he will no longer become president, and the vice president will become the acting president. And that would be true until he sends a contrary note to the declaration to the same bodies that he's fit and fiddle and he's ready to go again. However, there is nothing in here. Now, Section 4 of the 25th Amendment basically says whenever the vice president and a majority of either of the principal officers of the executive departments, we've got 15 executive departments.
Yeah.
We need at least the heads of 8 executive departments to agree, because the president is not willing to give up. They can then order basically
a soft coup, pretty much.
Exactly. And then he's out until within 4 days he writes back and says, I'm qualified. Get the hell out of here. I'm staying here.
Yeah.
So there is no easy way to do it except for the way he's done it. They could threaten him with the 25th Amendment, but they would have to have at the ready all his, I should say at least 8 of the 15 departments that exist under his watch, and I doubt it.
And and Biden appointed those cabinet heads, so they're probably a little bit loyal to him as well. And Jonathan, there's also, was this a coup in any ways? I mean,
yes.
Do you think that this, by Biden stepping aside, if either by choice or by he was being forced out, do you think that this is, as a lot of people on the right are saying, is an affront to the voters that voted for him in the primaries?
Well, of course, because what's happened here now is you got 3 entities that determine who's going to run for president. You've got the donors.
Yeah.
You've got the powers that be, like the Hollywood and the
elites.
Elites and so on. And you've got us voters. Now, us voters, or we voters, already made our opinion known. We nominated him during a proper nomination procedure. We said we want Joe Biden to be our president, and we gave something like 0 to Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
Now, things go on as things go on. The president, ex-president, former president Trump gets shot.
Hold that thought real fast,
Yeah.
Richard, because we're going to a break. I want to talk about more of this after the break, you guys.
Okay.
Stick around, you guys. We're in the Legal Lounge, and that Chapter 7 of that book, American Illusion of Freedom, available wherever books are sold.
No more mold, no more damage, no more outdated old bathroom, no more slipping and hurting, no more stress. Make your ordinary bathroom extraordinary for only $99 per month. New shower, new door, new tub, new wall, new anti-slip technology. Be stress-free. Call 800-973-5411. BCI Bath and Shower is made in America for the highest quality. Ask about our military and senior discounts. Your dream bathroom in as little as 1 day. First 50 callers save $1,500 on a never-clear glass treated door. Call now for free premium color upgrades. 800-973-5411. Call BCI Bath and Shower, the leader in bathroom remodeling. Be smart, safe, and stay a step ahead of inflation with our interest-free financing options. Call 800-973-5411. Love your bathroom with free upgrades. Call 800-973-5411. 800-973-5411.
Attention real estate investors. Do you need cash immediately? If you own one or multiple rental properties, you can use your equity to get cash out fast. The best part is we don't need tax returns or even a good credit score. At America's Loan Source, we are not a bank and we don't have bank rules. We make the decisions to loan you money, and there's no limit how much we can give you. Some clients have gotten as much as $500,000 or more within days. Use the money any way you want. If you own one rental property or 100 and COVID has left you in a cash crunch, we can help you turn your equity into fast cash. Call now for details and close in as little as 10 days and get the cash you need. 800-353-1760. 800-353-1760. 800-353-1760. That's 800-353-1760.
The Kaanapali Beach Resort Association is reopening and is welcoming guests. While some properties are opening sooner than others, all properties are taking reservations, and we look forward to your return. Go to kaanapaliresort.com for all the latest and up-to-date information on what's happening at Kaanapali Beach. That's Kaanapali Beach on the west side of Maui. There's so much to do. With a short drive from Maui Airport, we're on the tropical side of Maui and offer breathtaking scenery, an incredible array of delectable dining, and activity choices to meet your needs. We invite you to visit Kaanapali Beach Resort, but please be sensitive to the devastation that our beloved West Side community has suffered. Lahaina is closed and will be for some time. Come to our open areas and support us as we adapt to a new way of life without our beloved Lahaina. Come visit the west side of Maui, Kaanapali Beach. Visit us online at kaanapaliresort.com. That's KAANAPALI resort.com.
We are back in the Legal Lounge. Thank you so much for joining us. Just continuing to discuss the fallout of Joe Biden stepping aside. And Richard, he does not look good. He looks, I mean, I don't mean to talk out of school here, but, you're kind of close in age to Mr. Biden. You look like 5 times the man that he is.
Thank you. Well, no, and see, I think he finally realized that he is not feeling well.
Yeah.
And I think it's a fair assessment, and I think that Republicans are incorrect in making this simple comparison. Well, if he can't run for president in November, then he shouldn't be running or shouldn't be acting as president today. No, I see them as two separate, distinct things, and I think he thinks in his own mind he's got some things to finish up before he leaves, and that he's got so many people who were once friends against him. Now's the time to get out. He'll take his time and maybe pardon a few people. Hunter, maybe he might even pardon Mr. Trump.
Maybe, what Gerald Ford did to Richard Nixon to kind of unite the country back together. Let's talk a little bit briefly about what Mr. Turley said. Mr. Turley wrote an interesting article about all this.
Absolutely.
And he contrasts the difference between President Johnson and what's happening with Mr. Biden. Johnson's decision in 1968 that he should not seek nor will he accept the nomination, that was actually before the end of the primaries.
That's right.
So that was before the voters actually got to weigh in. And I believe, if memory serves, he gave that speech a couple days after he lost New Hampshire.
Yes.
So not the same here. Also, we talked about this on the phone yesterday. And Mr. Trump, former President Trump's mad about this because the Republican Party, the RNC, they just spent an entire week of their convention. They spent a lot of money on that convention, on a lot of strategists, on a lot of media buys, and a lot of producing video ads to run against Joe Biden.
Yeah.
And now we got Joe Biden saying, nope, I'm done. And so now some are saying, this is fraud, because not only did you defraud the voters in the primary by replacing the candidate that they voted for, you're also defrauding the opposition because you're expecting to run against Joe Biden and you're not.
Okay, but the reason, not to get too technical, Mike, but the reason it's not fraud is because you have to make a promise For instance, a Democrat Party saying to the Republicans, we promise Biden is going to stay there, so if you want to make any motions, you can do so. They never made a promise to the Republicans, so I don't think there's any fraud there. It's just tough luck. But now that we're talking about the article by Mr. Turley, I found it very interesting because my mother's side of the family is from Italy, grandparents. And I read this headline, Succession by Defenestration. And I said, what the hell is that? And I'm thinking, I remember my grandmother saying, for the word window, she was saying finestra. And sure enough, as I read Turley's article here, it says, Harris will now be the nominee through succession by defenestration or being tossed from a window. That's exactly right. He was, and he said many. The guy, Turley is kind of a comical guy.
He is. He's a smart writer.
He does. He uses very nice analogies, if you will, and he says that Miss Harris, she wants to avoid being criticized for being et tu Kamala, of course, hitting Shakespeare there a little bit. And then he uses a little bit of mafia lingo here by saying that politics follows the same rules as the mafia for capo di tutti I capi, meaning kill a Don, but never be a Don. And he goes on to say that Mr. Biden was literally he made an exit out of the building, out of the 46th store window, and again, comical. But he does say something with which I disagree.
Okay.
And that is that he's like some of the other people are saying that it doesn't make sense for him to say, I can't be the president the next term, but I can continue to be president now. Mm-hmm. I disagree with that. I think that's a non sequitur. I think he's still able to do as he's been doing, mumbling and bumbling the way he's doing, to take care of some of the business that he thinks he has to do. For instance, pardons.
Yeah.
But then realizing that he doesn't have a prayer in hell of beating Trump. Who knows? He might change his mind if Trump somehow decides to quit.
Now that's
maybe a Republican that he thinks he could beat. Therefore, he's kind of holding this in abeyance, and he would then throw Kamala Harris under the bus. So you never know. Joe is not from Kokomo.
He is not indeed. All right, I just want to do a little bit more about this on the break, after the break, because I want to talk about Kamala and her record, especially her record in California when it comes to criminal justice. And then we're going to talk about a fascinating case involving railroads and easements and private property and the Fifth Amendment. And we're going to talk more about the shadow docket as well. So stick around. Stay with us.
Savor the past and savor the glory days of Las Vegas. Enjoy 70 years of true Las Vegas history as 4 generations of family wait to greet you at the legendary Bootlegger Italian Bistro. Wine, dine, and experience Mama Maria's award-winning original recipes while surrounded by original family photos and celebrity memorabilia. Enjoy piano artistry nightly with music from the Great American Songbook in our main formal dining room. The Bootlegger Italian Bistro, open 24/7, 7700 Las Vegas Boulevard South. In the entertainment capital of the world, the Bootlegger Italian Bistro, open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. 7700 Las Vegas Boulevard South, in the entertainment capital of the world. It's Vegas, baby.
Are you ready to make a difference for the environment while helping the visually impaired at the same time? Then donate your vehicle to Heritage for the Blind today by calling 800-785-9618. Every donated vehicle will either be properly recycled in an eco-friendly manner or given a new life through reuse. Donating your vehicle is easy. Simply call 1-800-785-9618 and Heritage for the Blind will do the rest. They'll even arrange for your vehicle to be picked up at no cost to you. And for a limited time, when you donate your car, you'll receive a $200 restaurant voucher and a 2-night, 3-day hotel stay at one of 50 locations. Call 800-785-9618 right now to schedule your tax-deductible vehicle donation and make a positive impact on the environment while helping others. Heritage for the Blind, where every car donation counts and every person makes a difference. Call 1-800-785-9618 now.
If Ernest Hemingway was alive today, would he say this to you?
Shakespeare, Mark Twain, Edgar Allan Poe, all great writers. And after reading your book, I simply must add you to the list.
Wait, you don't have a book yet, so make a free call to Page Publishing. Their expert staff can help you turn your book idea into a real book, a masterpiece that could someday make the bestseller list in hard copy and digitally all across the world. Page Publishing can help you completely take your idea for a book, write it, and publish it. So if you want to join the ranks of some of the most famous authors in the world, call now for a free information kit. Turn your book idea into publishing gold. Make a free call right now to Page Publishing.
800-378-3212. 800-378-3212. 800-378-3212. That's 800-378-3212.
Are you looking for a natural health solution to improve your mind and body? Greska's Carbon 60 is an all-natural oral dietary supplement that supports your body's optimal health and performance. Studies show that Carbon 60 helps eliminate inflammation, often the root of your health issues. One carbon-rich serving provides your body with a powerful antioxidant to help remove toxins and free radicals. Carbon 60 helps protect your cells from damage and promotes cellular regeneration. Experience the power of Greska's Carbon 60 and say goodbye to pain, inflammation, and fatigue. Call anytime at 720-600-6040, 720-600-6040, or visit c-60.com. That's c-60.com. Greska's Carbon 60. Go to c-60.com.
Back in the Legal Lounge. Once again, thank you so much for joining us here. Make sure to check out Richard's fantastic book, America, An Illusion of Freedom, available on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, and on iTunes. And just to, now that Kamala's in the driver's seat as the de facto nominee for the United States presidency in 2024, we are now starting to finally see her get vetted a little bit and looking at her record. And Richard, you and I both live here in California, and so we lived through the Kamala Harris era.
Absolutely.
And they are, she's got some skeletons in her closet. I'm just going to throw the name out, Willie Brown, but we'll talk about that maybe off the air. Most notably, she has some pretty interesting positions when it comes to justice. I didn't realize something, Richard. We have propositions here, voter initiatives here in the California, and you know how I feel about those. And who writes the descriptions and titles of those in the voter guides?
Yeah, it's the Attorney General, which is kind of strange.
Yeah.
And she was sitting in that position, and there's been times when she purposely, I have to say, misidentified some of these propositions such that yes was no and no and was yes. So she's not been a friend to, if you will, clarity and making truth prevail.
I want to read some copy here from John Phillips, a friend of the show.
Yes.
He's a KABC host, and he wrote this in the Orange County Register. Perhaps the most damage Harris has done to public safety was as a California Attorney General, where she was responsible for coming up with the official title and summary for ballot measures that residents vote on. Time and time again, Harris misled Californians into approving soft-on-crime initiatives that usually get rejected, including Prop 47 and 57, which reduced drug and property crimes from felonies to misdemeanors and allowed thousands of California inmates early parole, including those that were convicted of so-called, quote, nonviolent crimes like rape of an unconscious person and assault with a deadly weapon. Also, Ms. Harris, she had very nice things to say about the defund the police movement and went as far to say that she wants to actually reimagine the police.
Oh, yeah.
Richard, your thoughts on Kamala Harris's tenure as a prosecutor and as Attorney General here in the state of California?
Well, she did do some things that are interesting. She's a living dilemma, if you will, or contradiction.
An enigma, you might say.
Okay, an enigma wrapped in a
riddle.
In a riddle, there you go. Because I pretty much read the Daily Journal daily, Daily Journal, and I found her name, at least her office's name, on a number of cases which ended up being death penalty cases where she was representing the people, of course, and she was for, and you could tell from the actual facts of the case, that she okayed a number of black people being executed. How she can now take the opposite tack of acting to be in favor of blacks regardless of what they do, and especially, I don't know all the details, but the things, I think in Minnesota and other places where you had these...
The George Floyd protests.
That's right. She took up, if you will, collections for these people, and I think almost everyone to the person knew that this was entirely incorrect, that these people deserve to be in jail, not being given bail. So jail, not bail. How about that? So she's at best ambivalent, I would say. However, I think we have a strong argument. I don't know if we've got a strong proponent of the argument that you just mentioned, Mike, and that is whether or not she's really a citizen such that she is qualified to be president or vice president.
Yeah, interesting. All right, Richard, let's move on and let's do a little quick check-in with what's going on with former President Trump's legal issues. Of course, we saw that the Mar-a-Lago case was dismissed.
Yes.
Document case was dismissed because of some great scholarship by John Mee, Steve Calabrese, and others who really dug down and found out that Jack Smith is not eligible to actually try this case.
Yes.
So where does that leave us with the January 6th case? Do you see similar issues coming?
It does. We have Jack Smith as the prosecutor in the January so-called insurrection case. We have him as prosecutor, and the same should apply to him. Whether or not this the judge of that case will see fit to agree with Justice Cannon in the Mar-a-Lago case is, of course, up for discussion now. But I listened to Mark Levin the other day, a friend of the show, as you would say. Yeah. And he has a quote from President Trump, just to show you what our listeners, what President Trump actually said when he has been accused of the so-called insurrection on January 6th. Here goes.
Hot one, go. We have come to demand that Congress do the right thing and only count the electors who have been lawfully slated. I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard. Today we will see whether Republicans stand strong for integrity of our elections, but whether or not they stand strong for our country. That is...
Now, the whole point of that is to show that what Mr. Trump was being prosecuted for, that is insurrection, generating a mob, if you will, into violence. I think most people can see that what he was generating there was simply reminding the people that they have a right to go there and ask for a proper count of the electors, because as president, he has an obligation to see that the laws are faithfully executed, and he was informed by his attorneys that there was some chicanery, if you will, regarding the count. That is to say that at least in Pennsylvania, if you stop the vote counting when it should have been stopped, that is the day of the election, he technically won. But the court in Pennsylvania, in violation of the U.S. Constitution, allowed 3 more days for votes to come in. When you added those votes that were improper, illegal, and unconstitutional, Mr. Biden won. And all Mr. Trump was saying there is, I hope the Vice President Pence, whose duty it was to count those electoral college votes, I hope he counts the right ones.
Yeah, and peaceful. He said peaceful in that. That's not under the Brandenburg test. That is not incitement or any sort of violation of speech. Stick around, you guys. Be right back for another break. Stay with us.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident that was not your fault, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by to answer your questions for free. Call now and find out if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-745-9090. I'm here with spokesman John Wolf. So, John, tell everyone listening who should call right now.
Well, Maria, first off, thank you for having me here. It's always nice to answer the listeners' questions. Now, as far as who should call in, anyone who's been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, give us a call right now. 800-745-9090. You'll find out if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth.
Thanks, John. You heard it, folks. Take advantage of this opportunity and call now. 800-745-9090.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center, may not be available in all states.
These are the sounds of Columbo's Italian Steakhouse.
Look at this ribeye. Did you see that ribeye?
Fantastic. Incredible.
This is delicious.
Sausage and lentil soup, special today. Very, very good.
Look at this garlic bread. Best garlic bread I ever had.
And here's Vic Perino, owner and operator of Columbo's.
A lot of the Italian recipes are my uncle's own recipes. We have a lot of people coming back for his hand-rolled lasagna. We make it basically from scratch. I think ours is exceptional.
Here's Vic on what makes Columbo's different than any other Italian restaurant.
The other thing that sets us apart from other Italian restaurants is that we're an Italian steakhouse. We specialize in our steaks.
Plus, there's more.
They're coming for a lot of reasons to value. Their value per dollar that they're getting, plus coming into a neighborhood-friendly place. Sometimes we're actually accused of being the melting pot of Eagle Rock.
Columbo's in Eagle Rock on Colorado Boulevard, 323-254-9138. Mangia.
And we are back in the Legal Lounge. Once again, thank you so much for joining us. And Richard, we were talking before the break about checking in on President Trump, former President Trump, that is, his legal issues. And, we've had multiple Supreme Court cases, decisions about immunity. We just, you played some sound right there from former President Trump's remarks, because, one of the bogus charges is that he incited a riot or an insurrection, blah, blah, blah. Let's talk about what kind of recourse does he have? Does he have any sort of recourse here?
Yes, and Mike, I think you're more attuned to this. I think the case for Georgia, I think that's pretty much
dead. Yeah, because of Fani.
The Mar-a-Lago case has been dismissed, and of course they can appeal it. There's another case that he has for the $450 million. That's on appeal. There's one more case that doesn't come to mind, but I think it's been stayed. But in any event, Trump seems to be amassing some victories here, and there is such a thing in the law called malicious prosecution, and that has to do with the situation where you've been sued and there's absolutely no good faith basis for your being sued. Once you prevail in your lawsuit, because remember, you were not properly sued, facts are in your favor, you can then go back against the plaintiff who sued you, if you will, who now becomes a defendant, and you can get damages for their having sued you wrongfully. Now, this is kind of an example of malicious prosecution, which I think, and I hope Trump's attorneys are paying attention to now. An unscrupulous prosecutor filing false charges against a political rival. That seems to fit it perfectly.
Yeah.
Or a corporation, which doesn't necessarily fit here, filing a frivolous lawsuit against a small business in order to take out the competition. So my point is, the reason for your, excuse me, filing your criminal or your civil action was not to really do justice against this person who harmed you, but it's like an ulterior motive for your bringing the action. And in general, what the courts hold is where no reasonable attorney would have brought that action in the first place. And if that's the case, then you are ripe to be being hit for malicious prosecution.
Well, I mean, some of these, especially some of these state cases, like Alvin Bragg and others, the elected DAs in New York, I mean, they campaigned on this.
Absolutely.
He says, we're going to hold Donald Trump accountable, regardless.
That's
I mean,
right.
that seems interesting. All right, Richard, we're running out of time, so I definitely want to get into this one. Every once in a while, well, more than once in a while, you bring a case to my attention that really, makes me scratch my head. And this has it all. This has the Fifth Amendment takings clause. This has eminent domain. This has easements. This has railroads. This has trails. This has everything. This is a rails to trails case. What's this one all about?
Well, this situation is that the railroads, we all need railroads, of course, to move people and to move goods. But as time has gone on, we've used less and less and less of the railroads. And in many cases, they have abandoned their tracks, their literal railroad tracks. The trains don't move on them, and they're sitting dormant. And now what the people who actually owned that property on which the railroad had an easement is something less than fee simple, as attorneys speak. The railroad didn't really own that property on which their track was. They were simply kind of like using it temporarily, borrowing it, and so on. And it's a procedure you can go through where the courts feel that it's almost like eminent domain, but it's not permanent. So in any event, there's so many tracks in this country, apparently, that have actually been abandoned.
A lot.
And what the owners, technically the owners of that land on which the easement sits, are saying, give us back our land, and we want you to pay us for this use that you had of the land when you were using it. And the railroads are saying, no, wait a minute. We own that land, and you can't do anything to it unless we decide otherwise. The courts have said, no, that's an easement. You, railroad and government, you don't own it. Joe Owner, he's the guy that owns it, and he is asking for compensation. And the article that's written by Mr. Berger, B-E-R-G-E-R, he is, and I've told Mike, he is Mr. Takings Clause from the Fifth Amendment. He knows all these cases. And he's saying, look, it's time. You guys fessed up. Pay these owners what is owed them. They want to convert the rails to trails so people can actually use those properties as they wish.
I mean, this is a real head scratcher, because it seems to me that easements have become like a de facto way to get around eminent domain.
Absolutely.
Or eminent domain, the government can take your property if it's for public use and justly compensates at fair market value. And with this easement, it seems like, well, we're going to take some of your land, we're going to put a railway through it, and even when we're done with the railroad, we're not going to let you have your land back.
That's right. And I don't know whether it's intentional or negligent, but here in the government, the federal government and the railroad are saying they own it, when of course all the documents show it was strictly an easement. Now, the difference between an easement and the other one that you just mentioned, Mike, the Fifth Amendment.
Eminent domain?
Eminent domain. One is permanent and one is not.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. Well, an easement is for as long as it exists, and eminent domain basically is permanent.
Yeah.
They literally take your property and build a bridge on it or whatever. So, no, I'm not excusing them. I'm simply saying that for them to say that they had somehow owned it when in fact they only had an easement, That's the joke here. And
well, I'm glad these people finally are going to get some compensation.
It looks like it, but they haven't yet gotten any money.
We'll see it. We'll follow this case moving forward. Stick around, you guys. We'll be right back right after the break. Wrap things up.
Hi, everybody. This is Mike Horn, and let me introduce you to a great online supplement store. It's called GetTheT.com. GetTheT.com. GetTheT.com is always passing on deals to their customers because no one should take your health for granted. For the month of July, they've slashed their prices on their Moringa Vision Bundle and their Max Cleanse Bundle. Always check out their front page for the latest sales at GetTheT.com. Along with their wonderful cleansing teas, they have a great assortment of unique supplement formulations that you'll not find at any store. They carry glucose support, digestive, cardiovascular, weight, and immune support supplements. So what are you waiting for? Go to GetTheT.com and don't forget to enter the code MikeT, MikeTEA, for free shipping. GetTheT.com, Mike T. GetTheT.com, Mike T.
Savor the past and savor the glory days of Las Vegas. Enjoy 70 years of true Las Vegas history as 4 generations of family wait to greet you at the legendary Bootlegger Italian Bistro. Wine, dine, and experience Mama Maria's award-winning original recipes while surrounded by original family photos and celebrity memorabilia. Enjoy piano artistry nightly with music from the Great American Songbook in our main formal dining room. The Bootlegger Italian Bistro, open 24/7, 7700 Las Vegas Boulevard South. In the entertainment capital of the world, the Bootlegger Italian Bistro, open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. 7700 Las Vegas Boulevard South, in the entertainment capital of the world. It's Vegas, baby.
Attention real estate investors. Do you need cash immediately? If you own one or multiple rental properties, you can use your equity to get cash out fast. The best part is we don't need tax returns or even a good credit score. At America's Loan Source, we are not a bank and we don't have bank rules. We make the decisions to loan you money, and there's no limit how much we can give you. Some clients have gotten as much as $500,000 or more within days. Use the money any way you want. If you own one rental property or 100 and COVID has left you in a cash crunch, we can help you turn your equity into fast cash. Call now for details and close in as little as 10 days and get the cash you need. 800-353-1760. 800-353-1760. 800-353-1760. That's 800-353-1760.
And we are back in the Legal Lounge. Thank you so much once again for joining us. Check out all past and previous episodes available on Rumble, also on YouTube, also as a podcast at CRNTalk.com/podcaster. And Richard, we had an interesting decision of the Supreme Court recently that we touched upon briefly that has now started to get some repercussions here in the state of California.
Right.
Particular cases at issue here are Grants Pass and also the Boise case regarding homelessness. And Governor Newsom, he just says that he's going to instruct agencies here in the state of California to start cleaning up these encampments. And so what is he relying on? What Supreme Court decision was he relying on here?
Well, this recent case, basically, the decision was written by Justice Neil Gorsuch. He was an appointee of President Donald Trump. Craig Anderson always tells us that, of course. Wrote for a 6-3 majority in favor of the city of Grants Pass, Oregon. You have to give the city some kind of power to take care of their own local problems. You've got people sleeping on the sidewalks and doing other disgusting things, and the city can't do anything because previous decisions said that if you try to remove them, you try to do anything to them, it's a violation of the Eighth Amendment, cruel and unusual punishment. Mm-hmm. We'll have another argument next week about the incorporation doctrine again, but we'll hold that for now.
Okay.
But anyway, what Justice Gorsuch said is the decision pleased California Governor Gavin Newsom, San Francisco mayor, of course, and the San Francisco mayor, London Breed, and leaders of other cities and counties on the West Coast that have grappled with an expanding homeless population and filed amicus briefs in this case. It basically said that Gorsuch's ruling was limited to the Eighth Amendment, leaving other questions and litigation between cities and homeless plaintiffs unresolved. So the problem is the homeless people have less and less, fewer and fewer defenses now. We're eventually going to get to the place where the government says and our court says that it's okay to, I hate to use the word incarcerate, but it's
enforce the law.
That's right. But put people in institutions against their will, because in the past it's happened. The ACLU was one of the prime movers that said and convinced the court that if a person is not harmful to himself or others, he must be released. You cannot keep him locked up. And that's been the way we've run. And that's why it happens more and more and more people are outdoors. And again, we've talked, Mike, too. It's a mixture of people who can't help it. It's a mixture of people in drugs or booze, others
Mental
that really
illness,
cannot find a job, others who are really seriously mentally ill. We have to be able to distinguish between those people and treat them differently.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, this is one of those issues that I don't think that there's like one simple solution that's going to work for everybody. You know, like you said, I mean, there's people that, you know, they just can't behave.
Right.
I mean, even if, you know, there's the mental illness problem too, which I think we could deal with, you know, an immense amount of funding. But still, I mean, even if you know, have some sort of, you know, stipend or universal basic income, or, you know, build 1 million new units, you're still going to have those that just don't want to conform.
Yes, and you've got to remember that we, the other people who are not doing this stuff, camping on the sidewalks and so on, we, if you will, we have rights too.
We do.
And they're interfering with our rights, and maybe our governor and so on will finally take heed and do some things that favor the people.
Well, he'll probably clean it up for the Olympics because that's what they do, but we'll see moving forward. All right, Richard, thank you so much. We're out of time.
You're so welcome.
All right, you guys. And once again, make sure to check out Richard's fantastic book, America, An Illusion of Freedom. It's available on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, and on iTunes. And also check out all past and previous sessions of this broadcast available on YouTube and Rumble. I think I just said that. And so enjoy. You guys, we'll see you guys next week here in the Legal Lounge.